Breckenridge. You are our AirWorx Artist of the Month for April 2015, and we're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are not only our Artist of the Month, you are a personal friend of mine. I met you 3 years ago or thereabouts at the Monroe Rotary Club, just like I did Jerry Jones, and just like Jerry, it was a year or so after I met you that I found out that you're an artist, and what an artist you are, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you're also an architect, and a very well-known architect and respected in these parts. But unlike Jerry, Jerry was in the TV business and the art business, but you are in the art business and the architect business. And there's a little closer relationship between architect and art. So tell us a little bit about which came first.
Well, actually, I'd always wanted to be an artist, and I recall my 7th birthday, I was given an easel and a large thing of paper and a watercolor, and in essence, I drew all during my youth. My father obviously thought art was not going to make me a great living, and he was a building contractor, and he steered me towards architecture. And I've been interested in architecture, gosh, since in the 4th grade or so. So I've always had an interest in both aspects.
Well, you have done quite a bit of commercial architect work. Recently, you did the Charlie Brown Neville Fieldhouse. And Dr. Brent Vadrine told me that you also did some work on the foundation and the brickwork that was coming apart. Or can you explain what that problem was and what you did there?
That's not the field house. That's Neville High School.
Right. That's separate from the field house. Yes.
It's a separate deal. I'm actually and I'm listed with the state of Louisiana as a historic consultant, and I'm very familiar with historic structures. And Neville High School was a 1932 Art Deco, and through the years, the water penetration in the brick has caused it to separate. And I received a contract back in August from the Monroe City School Board to go in there and do a restoration process on the roofing area and the masonry and then the interiors that were damaged by the water penetration.
So, as an architect, you design buildings. The design part of it, I think you specialize in design, don't you? Or how would you say that?
I have always, in all the firms I've been in, I've been kind of the design person. I have a certain aesthetic sense, as opposed to somebody that's good at putting 2x4s or understanding structures and things like that. And I have to be holistic. I have to know it all, but I'm very strong in aesthetics and things like that.
Yeah, and my wife and I found that out. We got you to design some work on a house that we're going to build, and we were very, very pleased with what you did.
Thank you.
You've done some work, and your work is in several of the local art galleries. And you were the February featured artist for the River Gallery, as I understand.
That's correct.
And the piece you had in there was East Bank of the Washita River. What was the name of that piece?
Well, I've had it in several magazines, and it always has a different name. I think there it might have been East Bank of the Washita.
Yeah, maybe an afternoon on the East Bank of the Washita River or whatever. But
I can't recall.
well, the scene tells it all, and I love that piece. And in that piece, to Tommy, the colors were vivid, and yet they were pastel-like. So how did you get that feeling of vividness and yet pleasant pastel look at the same time?
Well, the actual color combination, it's a complementary color scheme. And it's oranges and blues, two very complementary colors that enhance each other, and they stand out when you do a painting. And essentially, Cezanne, I recalled his doing several pictures of Chateau, I can't recall, but he used the same oranges and blues, and always struck me as very, very intense and very pretty. So I in essence took those photographs I had of those warehouses, and then utilizing some of the palette, the Cezanne palette, came up with that color concept.
Well, the key for me is, what do you feel like when you look at it? And what I felt when I looked at it was a serenity, a pleasantness, and I could I could see myself sitting on the bank looking out over it. So you achieved what, for me, was a beautiful painting.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Recently, I was at one of our customers' homes and talking to her about things, and I noticed some artwork on her walls that was strikingly beautiful. And so I asked her where it came from. She said, I did that. And I was surprised. I had no idea this lady was an artist. And her name is Phoebe Allen.
Oh, yeah.
And so I said to her, well, we're doing some featured artists and Artist of the Month for our company. And one of them coming up is Doug Breckenridge. And she almost fell out. She said, oh, I love Doug Breckenridge. She said, I taught Doug Breckenridge.
I've known Phoebe forever.
Did she actually teach you?
She taught me in architecture. We did preliminary design, our first year design, which were abstract design and colors and patterns and stuff. And then she taught me in mixed media at a later date. So even back in architecture school, art and color were combined in essence.
Yeah, very interesting.
I've known Phoebe for a long time.
Well, where is your art now mostly? Where would a person go to find a piece of your artwork?
They're mostly upstairs in my bedroom, under beds, and closets. I'm one of the artists at the Washita River Gallery, along with Jerry, and we interchange there about every 2 months. But usually there's maybe 2 or 3 paintings over there, and I move them out, move them around. Recently, for the Rotary Foundation, I gave them a painting to auction at a Rotary Foundation thing. Last week I did, most people don't know this, but I do a lot of photography. I've been doing photography longer than I've been doing painting, actually. And I gave 7 paintings to the Cooley House Foundation to generate funds. I went in George Tucker School and did some HDR photographs. They're very ghostly and interesting, and I donated them to the Cooley Foundation to try to sell, to generate funds. So I do that quite often too.
Very good. How would you characterize your paintings?
Trial and error, basically. I don't have a lot of time. Here's the best way I can state it. I don't have time to really study art. I'm an architect, and occasionally I have little spurts that I can get in there and paint, but I don't have time to study and develop concepts and stuff. So typically it's kind of extemporaneous. I'll put a canvas up and then I'll use very loose paint, but very loose strokes. I'll work it up as I go. I don't do a lot of planning, and I do it very quickly. Sometimes I'll do a painting like 4 or 5 hours or something, and then come back and maybe touch it up, but nothing is really planned. It's put the canvas up, paint it before your time runs out, and you've got to go back to your regular line of work.
Yeah. Well, you are very good as an architect. You are well respected. Same thing with your artwork. If you had to choose one, which would it be?
Well, I would kind of my goal is, as I begin to ease into retirement, is to ease out of architecture slowly and ease more into painting. And I've been successful at that up to about the last year, and I got so busy in architecture, painting's gone back on the shelf, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So architecture is kind of more the format, but that's kind of my general goal, is to ease out of one and into the other.
Yeah. Well, what would you like our Facebook audience to know about you or your family that we don't currently know?
Well, I'm married to Karen Breckenridge, my wife of 10 years, and we live in North Monroe. Our sons, she has 2 boys, I have 2 boys. They're all gone off in different directions, and they're very successful. And she is an orthopedic nurse, surgery nurse, and we like to travel. I paint her quite often in certain areas. She's very pretty, and I paint her quite often in several different locations. I'm a big fly fisherman. I'm going to Henry's Fork in August. And then in September, Karen and I are going up there. I'm going to stay up there several days and fish the Henry's Fork River.
Another thing I didn't know about you. Very interesting. Well, it's been mighty good to have you here this afternoon
Well, thank you.
and talk about your art, your architecture. And I'm proud that you're my friend, and I'm
Thank
proud
you.
that you agreed to be our April 2015 Artist of the Month for Cheeks AirWorx.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.